Stronghold Definitive Edition. Is it going to be a win or a bin? Let's have a read through of the description on Steam. Greetings, sire. Your stronghold awaits you. Build a castle economy, besiege unforgettable villains, and return to the castle sim that started it all. Experience this classic RTS with upgraded visuals, modernized gameplay, Steam multiplayer, and a new campaign. Now, this is the game that would absolutely get me moist when I was growing up playing games. Absolutely loved Stronghold, played the shit out of it, played the campaigns, played with multiplayer with friends. Absolutely loved it. Loved the humor, loved the gameplay, loved the acting, loved the storylines, the voice acting even, loved the storylines, just everything about it. Now, this came out and it's a polished version. It's now modernized visually and apparently in gameplay as well. And I absolutely jumped at the chance of accepting a key for this. And all of that moisture that I just referred to came back. And I'm going to tell you all about this because I bloody love it. So for me, it was back in the noughties when I started, early noughties when I started playing this. And I started with the very first Stronghold. There was sequels, many sequels. So moved on to Stronghold Crusader, which I love, Stronghold 2. And after that, I wasn't liking it so much. It did kind of lose its quality, and the ratings did actually plummet. It became less and less popular. People didn't like it hardly as much. So if this was based on the original, which this is, not any of those sequels, then my optimism was at an absolute peak. So I'm going to start with the good things. Now, the best thing about this for me is the amount of gameplay that you get. So there's actually 9 modes of gameplay plus a map editor, and I'll run through those gameplay modes for you now as briefly as possible. So you've got the original campaign, which featured in the very first Stronghold game with its remastered quality. That is all exactly as it was, including voice acting. It's all been brushed up. It's the same voice acting, same scripts and everything as far as I can make out, same characters, which is great because it's funny, the story's great, it's just perfect for a game like this. It doesn't take itself seriously, tongue-in-cheek, that kind of thing. There's a new duel campaign, they call it, in the game, which is just for more experienced players, and within that there's a couple of different modes in itself, so, you know, there's actually 10 modes, I guess, if you count the 2 within the duel campaign. There's siege mode, which is probably self-explanatory. There's custom maps that people have built, and that actually includes workshop builds too, where there's a castle siege. There's invasion, kind of similar, invading a setting, and these are again people building map scenarios, and ones that I assume the developer have chucked in as well. The same with the siege. There's Castle Trail, which is a few castles in the UK and what seems to be into France, and you can play various missions in those castles, whether that's defending them or attacking them. You've got an economic campaign, which is just purely targets to build certain things and produce certain amount of food stuff, which is actually really good fun in its own right, the economic campaign. You know, it's just, I'll build X amount of, or create or produce X amount of beer or bread or meat or cheese. There's loads of different resources you can get. And then you've got the economic missions, which are just those but singularly. And you've got free build, which is self-explanatory, just go off and build whatever you like. Multiplayer, again, self-explanatory, go online, play with other people, beat them, lose to them, exactly that. Because I was actually given this game on the day of release, I haven't really had too much time to go through every single game mode, unfortunately. So I limited myself to the original combat campaign, because that's what I know and remember. I had a quick go on the new duel campaign just to see what that was like, and I had a very quick go on the Castle Trail missions just to see what they were like. So the footage that you're seeing in this video are from those. Those other game modes I mentioned aren't included in my footage, so feel free to check those out or read up about those, but I can only assume based on what I've done they are also very good. The whole point of this from the developer is to bring it up to the modern day, but don't lose its original beauty and do not detract from the original fun, hilarity, and epic gameplay itself. And they have absolutely done just that. If you zoom in, everything looks excellent. The contrast, the sharpness, it looks excellent. I mean, it's not going to be an award winner for graphics, of course not, but it's not supposed to be. Everything's supposed to be down to gameplay with this, and fun based on gameplay. Yes, the visuals are now much better, and of course that adds to it. Absolutely, of course. And they've done it brilliantly without losing any of the quality of the game. So yeah, I mean, I've pretty much rambled on about everything I love. Basically, it's everything how I remember it. Absolutely loved it. That's all that needs to be said for it, really. Especially if you played Stronghold before, you'll know what I mean. There are some things that aren't so good that maybe I'd never realised when I played when I was younger. One of which is if you build a wall and you try and place a gate in, it doesn't kind of snap in. Sometimes it has to be a strange jutting out angle. It can never fit in line with what you're drawn. Well, it can if you happen to draw the wall in the right direction, but that's never likely to be a guarantee because the castle walls are never likely just to be straight lines. They're going to go off in different directions, and therefore if you put a gate on a diagonal, it's never going to just snap onto that diagonal, so it could be a little bit annoying in that sense. I wish there were more options with units. So what I found, and I know this was the case in the original as well, but say you've got a group of archers, 10 archers, and you want to spread them out over a space, because let's face it, there's not necessarily a reason to put them all in one bunch firing the arrows. You might want them out in a line, spread the arrows out a bit. You can't do that. So in some games, maybe you'd expect to hold the right mouse button down and drag a line, and they'll go and stand in that line and shoot from there. You can't do that. You can just dump them all in one area. Yes, you can pick out one archer at a time, say, and click where you want them to go. That's fine, but obviously that's fairly time consuming. So it'd be nice to be able to spread them out a little bit, use formations or something like that, but there's very few options in terms of unit control. It's basically just passive, defensive, disband, stop. Now, I mentioned earlier, I love the cutscenes. I love the humour that's involved in those cutscenes with all the characters and how they're original as well. And the narration as well is really well done. Now, there's cutscenes where there are animations of the characters talking. And during those animations, the animations stop, but then the voice acting is still continuing. That's a little bit weird. It kind of looks like they've just got stuck because they just literally stopped mid-scene, so to speak. But there's still their voice talking. I would say that if you're going to keep the voice talking, then you need the animation still rolling. It just seems a little bit weird from my point of view. Aside from those few negatives, I think you know that I'm going to rate this very highly and just recommend this to anyone. If you are a fan of the Stronghold games from the past or present, then this will be absolutely up your street. If you've never played a Stronghold game before, get involved with this. It's absolutely superb. You'll have hours of fun, especially with all these game modes. I just love the way the gameplay is done. I mean, I don't want to go on about it too much in the sense of every single thing it can do, because you may already be familiar with it, but it just does everything so perfectly. It doesn't take itself too seriously. Everything is relatively easy to get stuck into. There's not too many things that you could do, so you don't get embroiled in so many different options and settings. It's very simplistic, but the amount of fun you're going to have with this is absolutely timeless because of things like the map editor and multiplayer. There's just so many things you're going to be able to do. It's £11.69 going up to the £12 something mark when it comes off sale. But if you want to have a go at a castle strategy, defending, building, warfare, resource management type game, this is going to be your cup of tea.